Running tattoo artist. I had an adductor injury last June. I ran through it and ran Berlin Marathon. Ended up badly injured. 4 months of no running. How long would it take me to get back to 250 shape? I'm 40, running again. Great to hear that you're back in shape, tattoo artist. I mean, to run that type of time, coming back from an injury too, man, it's tough, man. Because I mean, I would think focusing on a 6 month to 12 month block of training to get into that type of shape, I would give yourself a year. I mean, I know that may not be the answer you were looking for, but I think that if you focus on giving yourself a full year of getting back into that type of shape, because I mean, I don't think people realize how hard it is to run a 250 marathon. That is very, very tough. And the fact that you were injured, you said you were badly injured in 4 months of no running. Usually, I mean, it does take some time. Obviously, it does take some time to get back into that type of fitness, but I would say a minimum of 6 months to focus on a 6 month block, but preferably a year. And that's just to take the pressure off of you and trying to rush the process, and giving yourself plenty of time to get back into race shape, get back into really solid anaerobic shape. I think that would be the plan I would aim for if I were you. Um, I'm training for a marathon myself right now. I'm giving myself a full year, a full 12 months. Again, I mean, I haven't raced in a marathon in it'll be 11 years by the time I run this race. And yeah, so that's what I would aim for. So I think tough. I think it's tough because I'm 40 and I feel like I'm losing. No, you're not, man. You look at those. I mean, there's plenty of examples out there. Tommy Hughes is an example of that. I mean, he came back, ran a 2:36 marathon at age 64. And what I think was even more impressive with Tommy Hughes is, I mean, I think he's Irish. He is an Irish guy. He took 10 years away from running, came back at age 57 or 58 and ran a 2:27 marathon. So you at 40 are young compared to him. I mean, you're 7 years younger than I am. You know what I mean? So you have plenty of time to really continue to run fast times. Obviously Tommy Hughes is sort of like an outlier, but there's other athletes out there similar to him that run very, very fast in their 50s and 60s. But you definitely at 40 can run a 250. It's not going to be easy. It's not 250 isn't easy at any age, but you definitely have what it takes, man. And you're still young enough to do it. So I hope that helps. Hey, Marion, coach, regarding double threshold training, what is your take on doing one threshold workout on the bike or rower and the other one running same? Yeah, I mean, I would. I would. I've done that several times over the years too. No shame in doing, pole running. I always talk about pole running as well. Rowing is great. Cycling. If you do a harder session in the morning and then you do your run in the evening, yeah, you can do that. Just, don't get in the habit of constantly doing cross training. If you're focused on running obviously every once in a while, cross training is definitely important. But yeah, you can substitute a track workout with a hard bike session or a rowing session. And I talk about pole running, getting the deep end of a pool, and without a flotation device in that water pressure, you will be forced to pump your arms and lift your legs, and really be forced to focus on. That's a great anaerobic workout. There is example 5K running and yeah, exactly. 5K, 1K running on the track and 10 300s on the rower. Yeah, very, very good. Yusuf, hope you're doing good. Doing good. Same to you. If you remember, I told you I had a 10K today. I wanted to sub 43. I did 42:12. I have another 10K in 4 weeks. Please tell me how to improve on what to do every week. It's hard to say, Yusuf. I mean, it sounds like what you're doing already is definitely working. Congrats on running 42:12. That is, I mean, you achieved your goal. Right now, I would just continue to focus on, focusing on your speed, doing one speed session a week, continue to do your tempos, do your long runs, Hydrate very well. I can't say that enough. Hydration is absolutely essential. But the fact that you're doing great already, man, breaking 43 minutes is no joke. I mean, that is a great effort. Um, to improve on that, I would say just minor changes. Don't make sure you run the tangents in the race. Don't run any further than you need to. That could, I mean, just not running the tangents itself will probably cut another 12 seconds or more off that 10K time just by not running any further than you need to in the race. So, what you're doing works. Hey, King J, hi sir. I did a time trial to run 5K on my own, and I ran 15:20. Can I run 14? Well done running 15:20. And then training, thanks. My other question is time trial good to do once a week? I mean, every athlete's different. I think doing a time trial every week is probably a little excessive. I would focus maybe every other week or maybe once per month. Um, yeah, I would aim for once a month. They're going to do a time trial, but doing it once a week, I think, is a little too much, especially how fast you're running, man. 15:20. There's a lot of runners out there that would love to have a time like that. Yeah, it's very, very good. Hey, Philip, good to see you. Hey, coach, I'm trying to crack 18 minutes in the 5K. What do you think is the best way to pace a 5K run? Positive, negative, or um, I always think a negative split is better, and that doesn't go for just the 5K. Any distance, 800 meters, 1600 meters, 3200 meters, 2 miles. Most of the world's top times, as you all know, world records too, are usually set with an even or negative split. I mean, it's similar. I mean, well, obviously, even split is you're just focusing on the same paces. But if you negative split, go out a little conservative in the first mile. I always tell runners, I mean, if they're trying to run faster in the 5K, it was taught to me. I used it to PR in the 5K myself. And if going out aggressive, but not all out in that first mile, and then once you hit the mile, then make it a 2.1 mile race. Just get out and stay in control, but don't go too anaerobic too quickly and you get too hyped up in the early stages of that race and then have to be, drastically slow down because you went out too fast. I think if you go out a little bit more conservative and then once you get to the mile, focus on a 2.1 mile all out race. That's what I would do. Tattoo artist, thanks. Yeah, no problem. No problem. I appreciate it. Yeah, I hope, I hope you continue to progress. I mean, you're obviously, like I mentioned, man, you're only 40, 250 is very tough. Very, very fast, very competitive. I think too many people are caught up in those runners out there running 206 and 208 and all that. That's a very small percentage of people that can do that. And there's even when you look at the world around the world, all the runners that run marathons, very few run 250. And so I think that these people that Let's Run is the example of that. I mean, those message boards can be really negative at times, but you can be a world record beater and somebody say something negative about it, but yeah, 250 is tough. So, but you're definitely young enough to do it. Hey Sam, good to see you, man. Marion, coach, currently I'm running around 55 kilometers a week. I want to build up to 100 kilometers a week. How would you progress the mileage the upcoming 20 weeks safely? Would you increase every week or every month? I gotta give some props here because, I mean, I'm the one and only. My mother is on the stream. I gotta give some love. Mom, good to see you. Glad you're here. But Marion, yeah, 55 kilometers a week. I want to build up to 100 kilometers a week. How would you progress the mileage the upcoming 20 weeks safely? Would you increase every week or every month? I would increase the mileage. I definitely wouldn't increase it more than 10% each week. You can add a couple extra miles or extra kilometers each week, but just be on the conservative side because again, you're going over a 5-month block. and there's not a rush. You're already at 55 kilometers a week. So going from 55 to 100 kilometers is, I mean, it's not going to take you 4 months to get there. I mean, it could take you two months, really, 2 months, 2 to 2.5 months to get up to that, maybe 3 months to get up to that point. But yeah, I would increase. You can increase a few each week, maybe 5 to 8 kilometers each week. See how you're feeling. I would focus on a recovery week every fourth week. So if you're going 55 kilometers, then you go like 62, then you go 68, then you go 73, drop back down to like 66, then go back up to 74, 75 or so. Every fourth week, have a recovery week in there. You know what I mean? Because it's hard to stay, it's hard to stay consistent over a long period of time. But if you're patient with yourself and you have some recovery in there, I do this with the athletes I coach, with the training plans and running courses I've created. I always have I have a recovery week in there to make sure that the athletes adapt. But yeah, I think what you're doing there, I think that amount of time is solid to go from 55 kilometers a week to up to 100 kilometers. So yeah, that's what I would do. Like I mentioned, just add go 55. If you're at 55 this week, try like 61, 67, like 73, drop back down to like 65, have a recovery week in there. So Yusuf, my friend, was running with me all the way, but he had a side stitch at 6 kilometers, at kilometer 6.5 in the 10K. What would cause that and how to avoid it, please, and how to remove it in the race? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons for side stitches. I mean, sometimes it can just be the athlete drank too much fluid prior to the start of the race. That's a lot of times that's the reason. Sometimes it's just belly breathing as you're running too can sometimes help to lessen that side stitch that athletes deal with. I've had them myself. A lot of times that was one of the biggest reasons why I dealt with them myself. It's just taking in a little bit too much fluid. You're drinking a little too much prior to the start of the race. And you said he got it at 6.5. Yeah, that's tough to get it. I mean, it's tough to get it at any point of the race, but 6.5 kilometers into a 10K, that's one of the reasons, probably the biggest reasons why that particular athlete got the side stitch. Can't really think of any other major reasons, because I mean, maybe improper. There was no stretching. I mean, sometimes muscles can just tighten up, during the race itself, in the rib cage area, and sometimes that's a reason. Just a lot of dehydration. It could be from dehydration as well. But yeah, that's two of the reasons, but hard to tell for sure exactly what it was, but that may be what caused it. Yeah, Mary. Yeah, let me know. Let me know how it goes for sure. What running YouTube channels you recommend watching? I mean, there's a lot of them out there. I think that Floberg. I think there's a lot of athletes that are out there training for races that I've seen that I like watching, just to see their race recaps, and they have races planned that they're going after specific times. Floberg Runs, I think, is one. I like Sweat Elite, which is Matt Fox. He's a 220 marathoner. Basically, he still does some racing. I mean, he still races, but they do a lot of videos of Kenyans and Europeans and other athletes, professional athletes, doing track workouts and road workouts. I like watching that just to get an idea of, just to remind me of, the stuff I'm doing, the stuff I was doing when I was younger. I like that. Nick Bear, even though some of the stuff is, it's a lot of stuff I'm not necessarily interested in, because I'm not interested in really in bodybuilding or anything like that. But some of his stuff is okay. What else? VO2 Max Productions, Sage Canaday. And Sage is a great guy. I think he's run around 215 or 216 for the marathon, somewhere around there, 217. I like him a lot. But yeah, I think USA Track and Field podcast. Watch that every once in a while. I'm trying to think of the other really good YouTube channels out there. I mean, there's some guys that, I mean, it's who's it? Kafloozy. He's a guy from out in Chicago. He's got like 160,000 subscribers. I mean, he's been doing it a lot longer than I've been doing it, but just what I've learned with YouTube, I mean, the amount of content, the amount of content I'm creating, it's a lot. I mean, it's 3 to 4 or 3 videos a week and then a live stream each week. Compared to what some of these athletes and some of these YouTubers are doing. Sometimes I'll see one make a video maybe every couple of weeks. They got like 200 or 300,000 subscribers. I mean, it's a process. It's just like anything else. I mean, you're not gonna jump from 20 subscribers to 100,000 subscribers overnight. You have to put in the work. It's just like with running. I mean, it's just not going to happen quickly. But I respect these athletes that are creating content and out there doing some really wild stuff. I mean, some of these videos they're making with drones, and a lot of these athletes also have like, loved ones and other people that are out riding their bikes alongside them or in their car, filming them and all these things, training. That more than likely won't happen with what I do, even though I will be putting in the work in my own preparation, but it's just not what I do. I just like talking in front of the camera and helping to answer questions, creating some form of content that hopefully makes a difference. Hopefully it's not going to resonate with everybody. I totally get that. But somebody somewhere out there may grab something, take hold of what I say. And I'm like, man, I really didn't ever think about that. Maybe that's something I should do. Maybe that's an area of my preparation I should change up. But yeah, those are some of the YouTube channels I like. JM, recently in my long and easy runs, I started exhaling literally through the mouth, then exhale last bit of breath through the nose before inhaling through the nose. Any tips on breathing? Thanks in advance. Yeah, no problem. I think it's important just not to change up anything that really comes natural to you. I think it's really hard to change form, how in terms of how you're running your form. And it's really hard to change how you're breathing. Like I breathe all the time through my mouth when I'm racing or when I'm running or when I'm racing. I never breathe through my nose. I always breathe through my mouth. So I think it's really just an individual thing in terms of breathing, really, and keeping yourself as relaxed as you can when you're running, whether you're running easy or you're running fast. I think it's really important because if you focus on staying relaxed, the less tension that you're feeling as you're running, whether that's in your face or in your shoulders, the better you're going to run. And I think also the more relaxed you are, the easier it'll be for you to breathe. But I think that if you're normally you breathe through your mouth and trying to change that up to breathe through your nose, it's going to feel weird trying to change that up. But again, I think that's where I would focus on, just kind of really not trying to change things up too much. Do what works best for you, and stay calm, stay as relaxed as you can, especially when you're running at faster paces. It's hard to do that when you're running anaerobically because it's just natural to start tensing up. Your face starts tensing up. But those are things that we can consciously tell ourselves to stay in control of, and hopefully that will help you in terms of your breathing. Hey, Lucio, Super Trebo, Broad Clips, good to see you guys. Oh, Coach, can't wait to see what marathon you run this fall. Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, if you guys watch tomorrow's video, you'll find out which one it is. But I appreciate the well wishes for that. It's definitely going to be a process. It'll be 11 years since I've run a marathon by the time I run that one. So but the workouts I'm doing now are starting to be indicative of starting to show me that I still got it in me. I still got the capability to run it at pretty decent clips. But as you all know, I mean, you have to first start build a strong aerobic base, and if you haven't done it, you haven't ran a race in a long time. Um, there is the unknown of not knowing exactly what you're capable of, but the workouts and getting out there and putting in the work definitely gives us an idea. I mean, I think that muscle memory is there. I mean, all the workouts that we did in high school and the way we're running a few years ago or maybe a few months ago, all those workouts are still in us. But it's the psychological part. It's getting beyond thinking like, well, I haven't raced in 5 months or I haven't raced in a year. It's getting beyond that and saying, okay, putting that aside and saying, okay, this is what I need to do. This is the amount of time it's going to take me to put in the work in order to get it. And then it's the will, it's the psychological aspect. Hey, I'm going to definitely put in the work to see what happens. Hey, Trebo, Run Dream, I decided to take a week off a heavy bench to see if it made a difference. I ended up running my fastest 8-mile tempo ever in June. I need easy effort. Hate to say it, but gonna have to stop. Yeah, that's a great move, Super Trebo. I think that's a great move. I think that if memory recalls, I think you mentioned that on the last stream. I think that you were doing a little bit too much heavy lifting, and I think there is a place for strength training, but I've just never been very heavy on it, and that's from like high school all the way up to now. If it wasn't, I don't think runners need to be in the gym any more than once per week, and you don't have to be lifting heavy weights all the time. Smart move on your part. Obviously, it's worked off, great for you. You got a great 8-mile tempo effort there. That's great. Just doing sit-ups and push-ups and crunches, and a lot of times is enough. I mean, I trained with a lot of Kenyans that when I was with the WCAP, the World Class Athlete Program out in Fort Carson, and they never lifted weights ever. And that's, it doesn't, strength training isn't for everybody, but I think if you're training over hills, if you're doing just simple push-ups and sit-ups, and you're strengthening your core, strengthening your upper body, that in most cases is enough for many athletes. But still doing box jumps and medicine ball drills and lifting heavy at times, it still does, it does great for a lot of runners out there. So I'm not saying it's not a bad thing, but I think doing too much of it can hinder running performance. So great to hear that you got some great results there. Do you recommend taking in fuel during a half marathon going for 140 or 130? Yeah, I definitely do. If I'm racing in a half marathon myself, I would aim for taking in a gel probably around mile 6 and mile 10. Yeah, I would definitely do it. Gonzarelli, coach, I'll be starting my training block for sim in August. I'm currently doing strength conditioning with 25 to 30 easy base miles per week. Is it too soon to start adding weekly speed workout? Okay, I'll be starting my training block. You're starting in August. Okay. June, July, August. I'm currently doing strength training with 20 easy base miles per week. No, I don't think it's too soon. I would probably spend the rest of June running aerobic, still building on that base mileage, and doing some 5 to 6 50-meter strides 3 times a week. And then maybe as of starting in July, start doing, again, this is me, but some light speed workouts, nothing like, not very much in volume. Like don't be doing like 1,600 meter reps or like 10 1K reps, something like that. That's way too much volume, but maybe doing like 8 400s or 10 200s, some moderately hard but shorter intervals on the track. I would do that once a week starting in July, but nothing too crazy where you really start you start upping your volume in terms of the speed workouts. That I would start doing as you get into your specific training block, which you're starting in August. So, and congrats on going after sim. I'll tell you from my own experience with that course, it is a net downhill course like Boston, but it does have, it has a lot of hills on it. So make sure you're training on the hills. That's one aspect. They think sim is fast. I mean, no course is fast unless you're prepared physically and mentally to prepare for it. So you can get on a flask. I ran Chicago. I did PR on it. I ran Columbus. I did PR on it. I PR'd on sim, which is crazy. I did PR at Grandma's. Sometimes I think really fall marathons are the way to go, mainly because you're not dealing with the heat, humidity that you have to deal with through the summer. Even in the spring, sometimes it can be warm. But I think fall is the best time to race a marathon. So even Boston is a good time. But again, you never really know what the weather's going to be like in Boston, even though it's relatively earlier in the year. But sim, I highly recommend the Indianapolis Monumental Marathon. I ran that, and that's in November. It's very similar to the type of weather that you're going to find at sim. But yeah, I mean, I'm getting off subject here, but yeah, that's what I would focus on in terms of how you should move forward going into that specific block. Hope that answers your question. Okay, yeah, Marion, yeah, I hope you do, man. Drop an updated video. Oh, will you drop an updated video regarding threshold training? Yeah, I will. Actually, I think, I mean, I've made a few videos already about threshold training, but it's always a good topic to go a little bit more in depth on. And obviously, every time I make a video, I've made videos about the same topic, but go into a little bit more specifics on. So yeah, definitely I will. Hey, Antonio, Wazik, good to see you. Coach, thanks for your tips on here a few weeks ago. To go under 40 minutes in 10K, I ran 39:55. Awesome. Now looking to break 5 minutes in 1 mile. I'm currently at 5:34. What key workouts do you recommend? Well, first, congrats, man. That's awesome. You broke 40 minutes. 39:55 is smoking. That is very good. And you definitely have the capability. If you can run that 39 anything for a 10K, it currently, it definitely shows you have the wills to do it. Breaking 5 minutes, you're at 5:34 now. It's a big jump, especially in the mile, to go from 5:34 to 4:59. But my recommendation is get very comfortable being uncomfortable, because you're going to have to. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but you're going to have to get that 75-second pace to feel easy. And it's not. It may feel easy in the first lap, maybe even the first 2 laps, but it's going to be very hard, no matter how fit you are, to run under 75-second pace for the second 800 meters. So doing if it was me, I mean, I would be working, even though it's the mile, working to a point where I could do 12 400s on the track at around 71 to 72 seconds, with about 60 seconds to 90 seconds of recovery in between each one of those reps. And again, spending some time running down around 435 to 440 pace. Okay. And meaning that might be doing repeat 200s on the track or repeat 300s. Still working on doing your long runs each week. The tempo runs for an athlete, obviously in your case, I mean, you have an enormous amount of fitness to break 40 minutes for the 10K. You can do 4 to 5 mile tempo runs, but think of how strong that's going to make you in racing a mile under 5 minutes. A lot of times you have to be very consistent with your mileage, but obviously to break 5 minutes, you have to have that speed element in there. And so focus on doing hill repetitions, or training over hillier terrain every other week, maybe twice per month. I like doing 10 to 15 100-meter hill reps where I'm running all out on the way up and jogging on the way down. Again, that's forcing you to again use different muscle groups that you do not use when you're running on flat surfaces. So again, looking back at the greats, a lot of them are from Great Britain. Steve Cram, Sebastian Coe, Steve Ovett, all those guys did a ton of hill work. I mean, there's some videos you can find on YouTube of Sebastian Coe doing repeat hundreds repeat. I think they were 100-meter reps. His coach's dad at the time was having him, who was coaching him at the time. I mean, doing those types of workouts, that will help you as well to get that sub 75 second for those four lap event to feel easier for you. And I think the fact that you can break 40 minutes for 10K is also going to really help you to be able to maintain that pace. So yeah, keep up the great work. Wazik, should I invest time in pyramid intervals to help my 5 kilometer and 10 kilometer times? My aim is to get a sub 3:30 marathon. Okay, last race was 3:55 after a 12-week training block, and I have a solid aerobic base already. Yeah, I mean, pyramid intervals, they help. They will definitely help in a 5K and in your 10K race times. I think too, the faster you can get in these shorter events, that's going to help you run faster in the longer races. It builds that speed, builds that stamina that you need, that you're still going to need in the marathon. Next week's video there I made, talking about how thinking long-term is really essential when it comes to, especially the marathon, to go from 3:55 to say 3:29. In the marathon, you can do that. I mean, you can drop that amount of time. There's times where athletes out there drop like over an hour off their marathon time. But you running 3:55 and you did that after a 12-week training block. Yeah, I do think, like, to answer your question, yeah, pyramid intervals can help you. And I think even in the longer races, they're still vital too. Just mixing up the paces, doing repeat sets. It might be like a 3,200, 1,600s, 1,000, 800, 600, 300, 200, 100. And whereas the 100, you're running all out after all of those reps. Then taking like a 5-minute recovery and then going 100, 200, 600, 1,000, and then you go up. It's tough to change, especially when you're fatigued too. It's really difficult to change up those paces and change up the interval distances. But mixing that up again, I think, will really help for sure. Yusuf, for a 42-minute, 42:13, can I run 41 minutes in 4 weeks, or will it be too much to ask from the body? Yeah, I mean, it's not impossible, but that's a short amount of time. I mean, to do it in a month, again, it's not impossible. If you taper correctly and you land the right day and it's a cool day and you got the right competition, it won't be easy, but drop another minute and 13 seconds off of your 10K in 4 weeks. That'll be tough. But again, anything's possible in the sport. I mean, I've seen some wild stuff. So I just think if you just continue to focus on how you're feeling and training, make sure that you spend 2 to 3 days of easy days recovery going into that 10K, so that you have you're rested a little bit going into that race. You don't want to go in fatigued. And carbo load the week of the race. I think there was a video I made where I mentioned maybe the week before. That was incorrect. I think the week of the race, you need to be really focusing on carbo loading the week of the race, the 7 days leading into the race, just to make sure that you have that glycogen storage, which you'll still need in a 10K. But yeah. Trebo, hey, thanks. Yeah, I ran between 7:55, 8:10 for my 8-mile tempo and 75 degree weather in June. What I normally do for tempos in winter. Been doing 3 aerobic easy days and 1 7 to okay. Mm-hmm. That's great. That is great. King Stennis, any advance on running in the heat? Any advice on running in the heat? Did a half marathon, everyone was stopping for water. Yeah. I think the best advice I can give there's a lot of runners out there that are really good in the heat. I have the utmost respect for them. I'm not one of them. I'm cold. I'm a cold weather runner. Um, I've always marveled at the fact that athletes that can run fast over, like, 5K, 10, well, like 10K up to the marathon. Even those that can run fast in the 5K, I can usually handle 5Ks in the heat, but 10K up, no way, especially the half marathon. So I think the biggest piece of advice I would share with runners that are aiming to run maybe a PR in the heat, is to be mindful of how much heat and humidity do impact athletic performance. And sometimes you need to adjust your pacing a little bit, um, versus like if you were racing in colder weather, like maybe 35 to, or maybe not quite that cold, but maybe like 45 degrees to 60 degrees in that range. That's where I really like to race. But I think a lot of times it's just, man, runners get too aggressive, and they think that they can run, and some can. I'm not saying runners can't. Obviously, there's plenty of examples out there, but a lot of times the heat and humidity really gives athletes problems, and it's because they're trying to race as if it was 50 degrees out. They're going way too fast, and the heat and humidity catches up to them. Obviously, in the half marathon or even the marathon distance, they're not drinking enough. So in the heat and humidity, you have to even drink more, and you have to be more mindful of that and your pacing, even more so than if you were racing in cooler, more advantageness, if that's where, the cooler weather for a lot of runners is better. But yeah, I would adjust the pacing for sure, and make sure you're drinking more in the race, and you're hydrating and carb loading the week of the race. Hey, Ryan, let's see, AFT World, Zayed, Rita, good to see y'all here. I'm trying to run a 120 half end of the year. Okay. Currently training at 43 kilometers for 3 weeks. That's good. Then adding 1 kilometer every 3 weeks to long runs, tempo, speed, etc. for the next 6 months. Adapt to this and pace opinion. I think the plan that you have there is solid. I think that you're not trying to do too much too soon. And the type of time you're going for, breaking 120 is extremely hard. So you're extremely competitive in what you're doing. So, and you're giving yourself plenty of time to prepare for it. If you're trying to run that type of time in a matter of like 8 weeks, I'd say it might be a little bit too aggressive, but if you're giving yourself 6 months, which is basically what you're looking at here, you're giving yourself plenty of time to adapt and to prepare for that. So, let's see, currently training at 43 for 3 weeks and adding 1 kilometer every 3 weeks to long runs. Yeah, you're not adding too much. Yeah, if you were doing like an extra 10 kilometers, you're adding an extra 10 kilometers to your long runs every single week. Yeah, that'd be a recipe for disaster, I think. Yeah. Hey, King, thanks for the support there. I appreciate it, man. Give you some hunters for that. I appreciate you. Let's see. Yeah, no worries, Wazak. I appreciate you guys as well. Yeah. Zayed, let's see, a marathon training, which is better, a 24-kilometer run and day off, or 2 12-kilometer runs back to back? Let me see here, a 24K run and a day off, or two. I go back, I look at what some of the things Jack Hazen, my collegiate coach, and Dr. Joe Vigil, they always say one run. And again, it doesn't work for every runner. We all train differently, but they always say one single run is better than breaking it up into two different runs throughout the week. So throughout the day, like if you did a 24, is it better to do a 24K run once, or to do 2 12K runs in this case? Like an AM 12K run and a PM 12K run. It's better to do one run than to break it up. Now, in some cases, if you're working a full-time job, or if you have your schedule's pretty tight, it's better to break it up. Just if you're wanting to put all the volume in, and you have a little bit more time, it's okay to break that up. But if you want to just knock it out and get it done with, that's the way to go. But again, everybody's different, but that's what I've been taught, that doing a single run is better. Now, if you're running higher volume, it's very hard to do 100 miles a week on singles. So breaking up those double runs obviously helps to get the volume up and to be able to consistently do that over a long period of time. So just be mindful of that. But yeah, I think a single 24K run is better for marathoners. And if you're doing higher volume, doing a few double runs throughout your week is the better way to go, because it's going to be very hard to match, to keep that volume high on singles. Yeah, no problems, Antonio. Thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it. Arian is dropping a minute in the mile from 5:46 to 4:46, possible in 6 months. Like I said, I don't place limits on athletes. I never say it's not impossible, because there's other athletes that have done that. That is a massive amount of time drop in 6 months, though, to go from 5:46 to 4:46. Big jump. Most of the time it takes athletes several years to go from 5:46 to 4:46. Some athletes can do it in a year. Some athletes have done it out there. I'm sure there's other examples out there of athletes that have done it in 6 months. It won't be easy by any means, but it is possible. Let's see. Larnell, thank you for the video. Struggled 6 times to break sub 40, and I finally broke it in March. Yes, that's awesome. Since then, I ran a 38-minute 10K. Okay, 38 10K in April and 37 last weekend. I'm trained for a sub 3 in October. Question: when should I start incorporating marathon specific pace into my long runs? Okay, let me see here. Read your message again. Ran 38 in April, 37 last weekend. So June, trained for sub 3. Okay, sub 3 in October. Well, the fact that you steadily increased or decreased your time, you're getting even fitter now. It's tough to answer the question, because it's I start incorporating. I mean, you can start incorporating marathon specific race in now, but I would definitely allow yourself your races in October, June, July, August, September, October. So you got 4 months. The fact that you've gotten quicker, you ran 37 last weekend. I would give yourself a small break before you start doing your specific, moving into your specific phase training. I think 2 to 3 days off just to recharge, and you're not going to lose any fitness in a few days off. Even if you took 2 to 3 days off, you're not going to lose any fitness by doing that. And just stretch, hydrate, and then after 2 to 3 days off, then you can start moving into your marathon specific block. Because again, you want to have some time in your training. You've been training for several months now, based on what you're saying here. And so I think that just a small break, a day, couple days off, even out to 3 days, just to recover a little bit, hydrate well, stretch, get some good sleep, then move into your marathon specific pace. So basically you can practically start that, maybe like starting on Tuesday or Wednesday of this coming week. Yeah. Because you're running times that are drastically faster than your goal marathon race pace. So that's a good indication that you're definitely, and based on these times you're dropping here, Larnell, you're well capable of going under 3 hours for the marathon, just based off. I mean, 37 minutes and change for 10K. Yeah, you're definitely ready to do it. And the good thing is you have another 4 months of preparation. So yeah, keep me posted. Awesome job. All right, let's see. Is dropping a minute? Yeah, I think we touched on that. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Ryan, Coach, loving your content from New Zealand. You talk about easy and hard long runs. Do the hard long runs have to be in zone 2, or should I not worry about heart rate in the long run? I think heart rate training is still very important. I think that if you're not recovered, It's best to either take, if in a lot of these watches, some of them will tell you that, hey, you should take the day off. Really, a lot of times you have to go on how you're feeling. But I think for these harder long runs, uh, focusing on heart rate is a good plan of action. I mean, I do it myself. Um, Now, obviously, if it's super hot and humid out, I don't focus so much on the heart rate because I know it's going to skyrocket. So I focus more on feel during the really hot days. If it's hot, I try to get up earlier in the morning and get it out of the way. Um, but I mean, yesterday I did a 14 miler yesterday. It was about the furthest I've run in about 7 years. I was wearing my heart rate monitor and I was just focusing on staying in zone two. But yesterday was easy. It's an easy, relaxed run. So the faster hard runs, no, you don't want to be in zone two the entire time. There's going to be times where you're going to be in zone four, even at zone five at times, even for maybe for a few seconds or a few kilometers, but just based on how you're feeling. But during the harder, faster long runs, you shouldn't be at zone two the whole way through. You can be at zone two at maybe like the first 2 miles or first 5 kilometers, warm up, and then go into running at varied efforts. Those harder long runs I mean, it's hard to run long, even easy for long periods of time. You go out and run 12 miles or 20 miles or so, even easy. If you're not hydrating well, you're going to have a hard time. I mean, it's tough to do that just to run easy, as you all know. But to run on these faster long runs, me personally, it's the hardest workout I do. Usually it takes me anywhere from 2 to 3 days to recover from these types of workouts. So, I do mention the faster varied pace long runs to get faster at the longer races, like the 10-mile, half marathon, and marathon. But man, you have to be so patient with that because it takes so long to get in that type of shape to do that. And again, it doesn't always work for a lot of athletes as well. A lot of athletes can just do very, very well on just easy, relaxed mileage and focus specifically on mileage alone, rather than doing faster speed workouts and faster long runs. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I don't think that the faster long runs, you don't want to be in zone two for too long during those specific runs. Let's see, King Stennis, I can never run faster on my own. I can only run fast with others or when I'm racing. Any advice to dial it in solo? Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, it's harder it's harder obviously if you're out doing. I train for the most part on my own right now. I don't really train with a group, but I've trained with groups and I've trained with athletes that could break 4 minutes way faster than I ever ran. That forced me to run at faster splits on the track. So I think it's in terms of dialing in when you're solo, just continue to focus on the type of pace you're aiming to race at, and do the very best you can to chase that type of pace, even when you're by yourself. Because think about this, if you can push yourself fast on your own, obviously it's going to feel so much easier when you have other athletes around you to help you along the way. And you may not feel like you're going as fast as you could as if you were training with a big group, but at the same time, you're going to be dangerous because again, you're pushing yourself by yourself with no additional help on the track or on the roads. And I like that myself. I like being out there by myself, pushing myself to the limit physically and mentally, because I know once I get into the race and I have some help along the way, I mean, I'm going to help those athletes if they can hang with me. If I'm in great shape, they're going to have to react to my moves, or I'm going to have to react to their moves. And so just be confident in yourself, continue to train and prepare well. And just to know that, hey, training solo, pushing yourself on your own, man, it's really going to help you along the way. I think that's kind of something a lot of athletes, we don't think about as much as we should, that, man, I can still push myself relatively hard on my own, but man, once I get in a race, I'm so much quicker because I have the help there. So yeah, hey James, congratulations. Yeah, thank you for the. He ran okay, so you ran 101.50. That's awesome. Yeah, congratulations, James. Dropping 61.50 for 10 miles, and he's 53. Another great example. People that or 40, like the gentleman that was left a comment earlier, he's 40 years old. James is 53, and he's basically getting close to breaking 60 minutes for 10 miles. I mean, that's a new PR for him. Outstanding work, James. Awesome. Got to throw up some hundreds to that, man. That's great. Let's see, Trebo. I've been off. Haven't been off on shin splints my legs, so I've been running 3 days a week with 2 other days elliptical to cross train. Do you think that's a good idea for aerobic work because it keeps health? Yeah, I do. So I've been running 3 days a week with 2 other days. Yeah, because you're still going to get a huge physiological boost from doing ellipticals and cross training, rowing, swimming, pool running, elliptical, any of those types of workouts on top of your running is definitely a great idea. And you're still getting the training stimulus from doing 3 days of running each week, and then you're adding on the cross training as well. Yeah, and most of the world's top runners, they do cross train. So, I mean, that's definitely, I should tell everybody on the stream, hey, it's okay to do that too. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, hey Kevin, good to see you. Let's see, hey coach, I bought a sub-3 plan from you for my first marathon ever. It's going to be the Mexico City Marathon. Okay, the training plan is crazy. Any tips for a sub-3 marathon? It's going to be high altitude, and yeah, Mexico City. It's definitely, yeah. The training plan is that's what I always say. I mean, the training plans. It's a guide. So my advice is to make sure that if you have to adjust workouts slightly, if the mileage is too high, instead of say a 10-mile run is planned and you feel like crap, take the day off or jog for 2 to 3 miles if you need to go out and just get yourself moving a little bit. So make sure that as you move through the training, it's not that you have to be exactly on every single workout that I put in there. Okay, it's more so just the consistency and staying relatively close to the workouts. Like if you have like 4 1600s and you had it's called, say, like 620 mile pace is the workout, and you're not hitting those splits. Maybe you're at like 640 or 630. Just stay consistent with the training. You will adapt to it. But also Mexico City, I mean, is, obviously at high altitude. So that is, if you are you living in Mexico, Kevin? Because training at altitude, obviously too, that's something that it's tough with the training plans, because I don't know if athletes are at altitude or at sea level. Okay, going to be there 20 days prior to adjust. That's smart. That's very smart. Okay. Okay, so you're going to be training mainly at sea level, or not as obviously as high as Mexico City, which is good. Because I was about to say, if you were living in Mexico City, okay, you're in Austin. I'm going to 20 days. Okay, good. That's smart. Very smart. Yeah, I mean, if you were at altitude, I'd say adjust the reps. If you're doing miles, I would adjust those about 7 to 8 seconds. Yeah, I do think that 20 days is much. Yeah, if you were going in like the week of, or maybe 4 days prior to, I would say that's going to be really hard. But I think 20 days, that's about three weeks prior to the race. I think that's very smart. Yeah, I think it's enough. Yeah. Yeah, but as I talk about too, just make sure that you're hydrating well in the race, especially with altitude too. It's even easier to get dehydrated at high altitude. So make sure you're drinking and hydrating very well while you're there, because it's drastically different. I lived at altitude in Colorado Springs, just about. Most of my training was just about at the same altitude or slightly lower than Mexico City. Usually anywhere from 6,000 feet up to around 8,000 feet was where I was training at. And you have to really pay attention to drinking and hydrating well going in, if you're going to be racing there. Watch your pace. I don't think going out any faster than around 132 through the first half. I don't think, if you go out at like 125, 126, you're going to have a hard time. So I think that's a little bit too aggressive. Especially you want to run that second half faster. You want to feel stronger in the second half than you're feeling in the first half, and again, you're racing at such high altitude. Just make sure that you've already, trying to break 3 hours is no joke. I mean, you're obviously in great shape, and the good thing is you do have plenty of time to prepare for this. So yeah, just run the tangents in the race. Make sure that you're really keeping an eye on that as well, so that you're not running any further than you need to in the race. And take the gels. Take about four to 5 gels if you can in the race. So again, you get that glucose directly into your bloodstream quickly. That's what's great about taking gels. I mean, it goes straight into the bloodstream, and a lot of times it's very easy to actually destroy your finish time, because again, you're not taking enough fluid, you're not taking in enough calories in the race. Let's see. Yeah, you're welcome, King Stennis. Let's see here. Yeah, James did awesome. That inspires me. I mean, hearing athletes run that quick in their 50s, which is still young, but I mean, 53 years old, running 6150. There's 20-year-olds out there trying to run that quick. So yeah, respect to you, James. That is great. Mexico City. I think that's what is the altitude of Mexico City? I think that's around 7,000 feet, something like that. Yeah, 7,349 feet. Yeah, I mean, is there? Okay. Oh, you're not into Austin, Texas, but going. Okay, gotcha. I'm not in Austin, Texas, but I'm going 20 days prior. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's see, if you can go under 3 hours in Mexico City, I feel sorry for the athletes that go up against you at sea level, because at 259 at 7,300 feet is probably something equivalent to probably 250 or 240, 249 range for sea level. So yeah, okay, good. Yeah, it's very easy to. Okay, you're in. Okay, gotcha. You're in Austin. Okay, good stuff. Yeah, good luck to you, man. Yeah, reach back out to me. Let me know how that race went. Look forward to hearing how you did. You got the willingness to do it. You got the power. You obviously have the capability to put it together. Just again, make sure that you hydrate well in that race, and you carbo load the week of the race, starting 7 days out, not just the night before. So, hey, Jordan, thanks for your support. I appreciate it. Any tips for going 1630 and 5K? I hit 1650 in my last 5K last summer. I think really what you've already done proves that you can go under 1630. I don't think that you really have to make major changes, because again, this is just 20 seconds faster. I think if just changing how you pace in that race, I think if you just hold back a little bit more in the first mile, just slightly, and really focus on the last 2.1 miles of the race. Don't try to start racing until you get past the mile. I think that is the really only thing that aside from continuing to train under 16 minute 5K race pace. So 30 seconds faster in 5K race pace in training. And again, not trying to go too anaerobic in the first mile. I think that in and of itself is, and hydrating well in the race, even the 5K, it's not so much of drinking as versus like if you're racing a half marathon or marathon. So, but if they do have a water station, which in most cases they don't always have at 5K, maybe at the 2 mile mark, take it, because most runners will pass by that. But I think to go from 1650 to 1629, it's just a matter of pacing at that point. Just minor changes. Run the tangents in the race. I think if you do those two things, you'll get under 1630. So, hey, John, good to see you. Coach took your advice and ran a 40-40 10K PB last week. Congrats. That's awesome. Any tips on training when goal races are still late August and mid-September? Want to go, heck, I can't see your time. I'm guessing sub 40 maybe on the 5. Oh, wait, sub something on the 5K on a long break because of this the emblems here. But I think more than anything, it's just what's difficult even for me too. You know, I have a few races I'm keeping in mind for the end of the year. It's tough to want to run. It's tough to hold back. I'm you know, if you still don't have your main races aren't until later in the year, like, you know, in your case, August, September. Okay, you want to run sub 19 for 5K on a long break. I think it's just hard to not want to run faster sooner. You know, I think it's the strategy we put on ourselves. You know, if you have a goal race later in the year, it's important not to go to train too anaerobically too soon, you know, and to do it too often. You know, you want to gradually get in better shape. But I think just continuing to remind yourself of what you're going after and have your plan in place. And just as each week goes by, gradually make the intensities quicker and with less recovery in between each one of the reps that you're doing on the roads or on the track. I just think that if you continue to do that, by the time later on in the year, August, September timeframe, yeah, you're going to be under 19 minutes for the 5K. But it's important not to get too hyped up and get too aggressive too early in the buildup and do, you know, too much volume and too much intensity too soon. First, focus on building the aerobic fitness, and then gradually start working on your aerobic capacity workouts, your anaerobic capacity workouts, anaerobic threshold, your tempo efforts. And then you're going to get into peak shape for sure. Let's see, J.M. Stern, not a question, but thank you so much for the advice on your vids. Yeah, my pleasure. I managed to break the 4-hour marathon barrier second time round, which I put down to the long tempo runs up to 12 miles. I cannot say that is so important. I mean, these the tempo runs, if you're doing, if you're training for a marathon, you know, I always say, you know, if you first adapt to what 2 to 3 miles at tempo pace feels like, because when you're not in great shape, it's going to be hard to even do that. But don't get discouraged along the way. You know, as you're building up to that, you know, just know that, hey, this is where I'm at, and I need 3 weeks to 4 weeks of doing this consistently every single weekend, and then I can gradually add a couple miles further until I get to a point where I can do what JM did here, you know, doing 12-mile tempo runs. A lot of people don't always think about that. You know, it's just like, man, maybe the reason why I'm not able to hold my goal marathon pace is I'm just not running. I'm running too much volume too easily. And maybe that for me is what I need to do. But yeah, congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's, in a lot of cases, that's what I do too with my own races. I do longer tempo runs, but it doesn't happen quickly. I focus on 3 miles, try to adapt to that, then go to 5, adapt to that, then move gradually out to around 10 to 12 miles. Yeah, it's awesome. Great job. Jordan, thank you. I'll try pacing cautiously to start. I'll take a gel and don't mind holding. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I think that's that if you can carry a 250 milliliter bottle, yeah, there's a lot of obviously resources out there, runners that can grab those and hold those, you know, hold that in their hand as they're racing. Yeah, pacing is key. I mean, and again, sometimes you can do everything perfectly, and it doesn't always pan out. But you know, there are things that we can do in training to prepare and get in better shape. But obviously, the energy expenditure and not expending too much energy too early in the races is key to. If we can hold back a little bit, be a little bit more aggressive at the second half of the races, it's a better move. Hey, Dino, I'm having a hard time deciding if training 6 days a week or 4 days a week is better for me, because I just tried the 6-day schedule for a week, and even though I was sore for a bit, it went away. Tips. Yeah, I mean, most of my career, I mean, again, this is me. This is not other athletes. But even when I was in high school, even today, all the way, I usually train 6 to 7 days a week. But a lot of athletes, they do very, very well running 3 to 4 days a week. So I think it's just an individual thing. It's based on, obviously your schedule. If you're training full time, it's obviously much easier to handle 6 to 7 days a week. But I think having one day off a week in most cases for most athletes is a solid plan. But let me see. I just tried the 6 day a week for a week, and even though I was sore for a bit, it went away. Yeah, and I do think doing, if you did it for 1 week, maybe alternating, doing 6 days a week 1 week, and then maybe 4 days a week the next week, and then going to 6, and then 4, doing, alternating every other week, running 6 days a week. Try doing that for a couple months, and then move to a point where you're then running to 6 days a week, and you can really, you're fully adapted to doing it. I think the consistency is vital as you all know too. I mean, it's absolutely important. You have to, if you look at Dr. Joe Vigil, I mean, I watched just about everything that he's made, a lot of his videos on YouTube. And when I was in college, when I was fortunate to be mentored by that guy, he says, if you miss a day, you're out of it. You don't miss, so if you're, if you do, when you stay consistent with your training, it feels unnatural to not go out. He says, if you're going to eat today, you run today, so I do think that once you're in that, if you stay consistent with this, it's going to be very, very easy to handle 6 days a week. But obviously it's going to be very hard, or it's going to be moderately difficult at first to adjust to doing that. Because, I mean, especially if you're just starting off and you're out of shape or you're overweight, I think athletes should start off running like 2 to 3 days a week, or maybe running 2 days a week and walking 1 day. So again, they have, 3 days of activity until they've lost some weight and they've built some aerobic fitness. And then you move into running, 4 days a week, or 5 days, or 6 days a week. And in some cases, 7 days a week, depending on what you're going after. So yeah, I think, Dino, you're doing great, man. I started a few months ago, 3 to 4 days a week, I think. Yeah. So, and that's another good way to go too. You've allowed yourself enough time to move up to that. So you've spent some time in running 3 to 4 days a week, and then gradually moving up. That's the way I would go. Nobody, world-class athletes, beginners, all type of athletes, we don't just get to that point. It does take time and patience. So yeah, kudos to you, man. So, all right, Tim, I'm gonna jump off here. I appreciate the questions. Thank you so much for all your comments, and hope you all have a great week of training. And I'll jump off for now. But yeah, I hope check out tomorrow morning's video. It's a short, quick video, but basically I go over what race I'm aiming for. So if that's something you're interested in, a lot of people have been asking, what race are you going for? So yeah, thank you so much for your support. I'll talk to you all next week. All right.